What is up, y'all? Dr. Christian Poulos here. Today we are going to be talking about how to make the fastest transformation possible. Legally, though. So, if a guy trains the right way, eats like an adult, fixes his sleep for the next few months, he can honestly make a pretty big transformation that honestly most people make in a year or two. Not steroid level here, but shockingly good. And if you think about it, most guys that you see in the gym kind of look the same year after year. They're mostly there just for maintenance. So honestly, for a lot of people, just any progress in the span of a couple months will be significant, but we're trying to make the fastest and biggest transformation possible. You can lose 10 to 20 pounds of fat, gain a few pounds of real muscle, and look pretty different without, ruining your heart with tren, doing any crazy hacks or shortcuts or detox teas. And this is all evidence-based, so let's dive in. All right, first off, let's start with realistic expectations. And I want to break this down into both muscle gain and fat loss. So for muscle gain, this really depends on the person, and I'll also probably put a graph up on the screen if I remember. But in your first year of training as a brand spanking new beginner, you can put on about half a pound of muscle per week. So that's going to look around 25 pounds of muscle in your first year, if you did everything right. The second year, it's going to be half of that. Third year lifting going to be half of that. So from 25 to 12 to 6 pounds of muscle. So most people that have been, training for a little bit, you can probably put on, 5 pounds of muscle in the span of 3 months. If you're more advanced, it's going to be a little bit less than that. As for fat loss, this is probably where you can make the most progress. And I always say the fastest way to look like you gained 10 pounds of muscle is to lose 10 pounds of fat. So fat loss is probably going to be the biggest lever here that's going to significantly affect how you look. So like a sustainable rate of fat loss is going to be 0.5 to 1% of your body weight per week. So for a 200-pound dude, we're looking at roughly 1 to 2 pounds a week. So in the span of 3 months, for example, we're looking at 12 to 24 pounds of fat lost. Maybe 10 to 20% is going to be muscle of each of the weight that you lose. So we're probably looking at ideally 20 pounds of fat loss, maybe 4 pounds of muscle, for kind of being a little bit more conservative there. So visually, this is going to be pretty significant. I'm going to put an image of a guy here on the screen, and I talk to a lot of people like this, and these people come to me looking like this saying, hey, I got to lose, 10 to 15 pounds and I'll be pretty shredded. But this guy on the screen here probably needs to lose more like 30 pounds, 35 pounds. I'll put my transformation here on the screen just so you can kind of have a frame of reference. This one image is going to be 210 pounds earlier this year. And then this other one is going to be 180 pounds, several months later. So that's 30 pounds of weight loss right there. I had visible abs, in the 210 pic. I wasn't in great shape. You can see my face is a little bit bloated, but that's 30 pounds. A lot of people come with even less muscle than I had, even more fat, and think, 10 to 15 pounds is going to do it. So always, if you think you need to lose 5 to 10 pounds, double it. You're probably going to be more like it. Now, let's talk about training to make the most significant transformation / fastest transformation possible. So I think the optimal split is training a little bit more infrequently. Something like an upper lower 4 times a week or a full body 3 to 4 times a week. Sure, you could do something 5 times a week, 6 times a week, push-pull legs if you want to. But I find the people that only do that and can actually stick to it are dudes like in high school or college who may have a little bit more free time than someone who's like 35 and has a job and kids and other things to do. So I find, the higher frequency, high intensity, lower volume overall approach with something like a full body every other day is the best. I've trained for half my life doing full body. I've built a pretty decent physique, I like to think. So I think I'm a full endorser of full body. But really, just choose whatever keeps your performance the highest. If you're trying to make a significant transformation, you want to make sure that your recovery is up to speed. So something like the Biggest Loser type transformation where you're doing like 4 hours of exercise a day, it's not going to work. You're not going to stick to it. As for volume for your training, you're going to want to do around 10 to 15 hard sets per muscle group per week. So for each session, it's probably going to be anywhere from 3 to 4 sets per muscle group per exercise per workout if you're doing 3 full body workouts. Stop 1 to 2 reps shy of failure. Don't do any soft, RPE 5 or 6 nonsense. Maybe take one of the sets to failure just to contribute to a little bit more muscular fatigue. As for conditioning, typically I recommend around 60 to 120 minutes a week of some light cardio. We'll call it an average of 90 minutes a week, into 3 30-minute sessions. Your heart is the most important muscle. You got to take care of it. So don't just go training your biceps and be like, oh, my biceps are the most important muscle. Got to do cardio, trust me. Everything will be better as a result of doing cardio. Otherwise, some other non-negotiables for your training. Progressive overload. You're going to want to make sure that every single session, you're either increasing the amount of reps you're doing, the amount of sets you're doing, or the amount of weight. Log this into a book. Bring one of those little notepads. I got one here that I put like random work notes on. Make sure you're consistent with your technique. No really arching your back on the bench press because a power lifter told you to do it. Some arch is fine, but make sure your form isn't getting sloppy. Make sure you're doing a full range of motion, because a lot of people don't. So I feel like I need to mention it. And of course, don't skip sessions. You're not a toddler. You're a consistent, you're a grown man / woman, whoever you are watching this. So don't skip sessions. This is part of your life now. This is who you are. Now for nutrition. So like I said, the biggest transformation here is going to come from fat loss. So you're going to want to be in a calorie deficit. Depending on your starting point, if you have some visible abs, you could probably go between a 300 to 500 calorie deficit each day. If you don't have any visible abs, probably be a little bit more aggressive in that 500 to 750 calorie deficit range. If you want a rough estimate of your basal metabolic rate, just take your body weight in pounds, multiply it by 15. That's a rough estimate of where your maintenance metabolism is going to be. So for someone that's 200 pounds times 15, you know the math, 3,000 calories is roughly your maintenance. Is probably a little bit higher than it should be for most, but if you're subtracting 750 calories from it, I think 3,000 minus 750, 2,250 calories a day is going to be a pretty good sweet spot for a deficit. Protein, 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight, non-negotiable, make sure it's there. Same thing with carbs and fats. Keep the carbs high enough to train hard. Maybe go a little bit higher carb on the training days, a little bit lower on the days that you're off, and never drop fats below 20 to 25% of your total calories, because that is important for hormone optimization, your testosterone, and not feeling like shit. As for meal timing, make sure that protein is split evenly throughout the day. You're not the guy that's going to just go eat random microwave meal for lunch and then try to down 150 grams of protein at dinner. Research shows that the best gains are going to come from having protein split throughout the day, typically around 3 meals. So try to have something around the morning, late morning, something in the afternoon, something in the evening, just so muscle protein synthesis is high all day long, baby. Now, as for carbs, I think it is best to have roughly 50% of your total carb intake in that 1 to 2 hour window pre and post workout. 50% of your carbs in that point. It's going to fuel performance. It's going to replenish your muscle glycogen after a workout. It's going to help with your insulin sensitivity because after a workout, your body is primed to suck nutrients into your muscles instead of your fat cells. So generally, that's going to be a better approach. Again, going to help with performance, body composition as well. So make sure you do that. As for foods in general, whole foods for the most part, I'm a big fan of like 80-20, 80% generally healthy, 20% have a cookie, have a cheeseburger. But if you're trying to make the fastest transformation possible, the closer you are to 100% clean, 0% not clean, the better you're going to be. And don't forget hydration as well. Usually the best metric is to drink to thirst. Make sure your piss isn't, some weird, dark neon color. And then of course supplement with a little sprinkle of sodium or some electrolyte powders in your water if you feel like your energy is getting low or your focus is getting off. Because a lot of times that is dehydration masked as feeling like you need to eat something or you're tired. Next, of course, we have recovery. Sleep, I talk about this literally every single video, but 7.5 to 9 hours nightly is non-negotiable. Make sure you throw in some magnesium glycinate if you're having trouble getting into some deep sleep. Ashwagandha in the form of KSM 66 at 300 milligrams is going to be a decent bet here if you're feeling pretty stressed out and can't fall asleep. And then, of course, stress management is a part of recovery as well. Just go on walks, you don't need your phone, leave your phone at home or just, put it on do not disturb. You don't need to listen to anything. You don't need to scroll TikTok while you're on your phone. Just walk, just go outside, get some sunlight, get some fresh air, be alone with your thoughts. It's going to help you a lot, in the long run. Maybe your brain's going to panic at first, but you don't need it. Anyway, also spend some time daily off your phone. Like I said, your thoughts are going to give you insights that you need to know, going to help you consolidate ideas. In our society today, we're just throwing a lot of, random stuff all the time. So you need some time for your brain to process these things and be clear. Of course, you also have breathing, meditation, cold exposure, sauna. Use that if it helps you. I don't use a sauna because it's not good for fertility, so I'm not using that right now. Cold exposure, it's too cold outside. I don't want to do it, but I do, some breathwork type stuff just to calm me down. Although I'm a pretty chill person besides my extremely rapid pace of talking on video. As for supplements, really just kind of use the basics. You want to make sure that your diet and training and sleep are all locked in. Everything else is going to be an aside from that. Just the baseline recommendations are an omega-3 supplement, again, magnesium glycinate and ashwagandha for sleep. Creatine is going to be great. Recommend that to everyone, except if you have like some chronic kidney disease. It's going to help with muscle performance, it's going to help with your brain as well. So make sure you have that in. Now for our next pillar, we have consistency and the psychology of things. So really the biggest thing and factor to making any transformation is just sticking to it. Missing 20% of your workouts is going to kill your progress. And a lot of this really is just doing, the same boring things repeatedly. Like, it's not flashy. There's, Instagram workouts where everyone's doing like crazy fun things or cool stuff or making some crazy extravagant meal that takes 3 hours. A lot of this is really just the boring stuff. Learning to do them over and over again, finding those 3 to 10 meals that you enjoy, that you could eat on repeat, that you never get bored of, that fit your macros, that fit your calories, and sticking to it. And a lot of this also is kind of like the psychology and identity behind it. The people who succeed in really doing anything, building a great physique, being successful in school, getting rich, are the guys who decide that they're the type of person who doesn't skip the gym. So you may have heard of this analogy somewhere on social media, but if someone offered me a cigarette, I'd be like, no, thank you. I'm not a smoker. Versus someone who's trying to quit cigarettes is going to think about it, be like, no thanks, I'm trying to quit. In their head, they're still a smoker, making it harder for them versus me. Like, it's just, I don't even think about it. So you want the same thing to be with your health and fitness goals. You are someone who trains. You are someone who eats healthy. It is who you are. It is a part of your lifestyle rather than being this other identity who's trying to do these things. Just adopt it. It'll make you a lot more confident and also more consistent as well. As for your environment, you're going to want to remove friction wherever you can. If you have Oreos, if you have kids or something and you have Oreos in the house, put it on the top shelf, hide it somewhere, lock it, throw the key away. I don't know what you want to do. Just make sure that things aren't in your way, because if something is around, you're going to eat it, and I'm guilty of that as well. Want to make sure that food is prepared. Whether you order a meal prep delivery service, you go to some random fridge in your town that has meals prepared, you want to have something healthy prepared at all times. Typically what I like to do is I like to make food in batches. So whenever I cook, I make a protein, a veggie, and a carb, whether it's chicken or steak or, some roasted mixed vegetables and rice or potatoes, and just have those in the fridge. You could always whip them together, heat them up, put it in a tortilla with some sauce if you want a burrito, stir fry it with some soy sauce or teriyaki sauce if you want it to be Asian style, for example. Kind of allows you to have the same foods, but repurpose them in a different way so you don't get bored. Same thing with your gym routine. Block it out on your calendar. Know when you're going to go. It's going to be very helpful for consistency. It's going to give you that reminder, and it's just part of your day. Same thing with sleep. Always have a wind down window. For me, the wind down window is from like 9 to 10 p.m. where I'm like, getting ready for bed, getting in bed, reading a book, and then just aligning myself to get to sleep. For the most part, that is 7 days a week, sometimes on a weekend, maybe a little bit later, but try to have that sleep time protected. And of course, accountability as well. Check in with someone, whether you hire me as a coach or you talk to your spouse or talk to one of your friends or even some bros at the gym. Just talk to them about how you're doing, troubleshoot a little bit, and have them keep you accountable. A lot of this really is accountability. And if you think about it, you have a lot of accountability in your life right now. Like you show up to work on time, show up to meetings on time, turn in assignments on time in school back in the day. So it's important to make sure that you are sticking to some sort of accountability somewhere. Now, last but not least, certainly not least, we have the peptide and PED adjacent section. So like I talked about, there are some supplements that we can talk about here that are actually going to help with performance. Creatine being one of them. Injectable L-carnitine is possibly another. If you have low free testosterone, something like Tongkat Ali or boron is going to help. And then you get into the realm of gray label stuff and other peptides. Some that can help. GLP-1s only if it's clinically appropriate. The semaglutide, the tirzepatide, the retatrutide, if you want to go underground stuff, it's going to help really cut your appetite. Pretty well tolerated for most people. And that's probably where you'll see the most rapid fat loss and weight loss, just because your appetite is pretty crushed. Now for some other peptides. Some of the growth hormone releasing peptides could be good. Ipamorelin, sermorelin, tesamorelin. Basically what this is going to do is if you take it in the evening, it's going to significantly increase the amount of GH that your body is releasing. As a result, probably get better skin, better hair, better nails, better recovery, and likely some lipolysis. So you're in a reduction of fat. and also some muscle gain as well. If you really want to go full heavy hitter, IGF-LR3 is one of the more significant peptides for building some quality muscle mass. May not be as significant in a fat loss type phase, but potentially if you're trying to build muscle in this, that's going to be the biggest lever overall. Of course, if you check your testosterone and it's pretty low, TRT could be helpful for you here, or in clomiphene if you want to restore your natural production and make that higher. But for most people, really depends. Try not to use shortcuts. Make sure it's something that you can actually stick to in the long run. And generally, again, that's going to be the training, nutrition, mild supplementation, and just sleeping enough. What these peptides and PEDs are going to do are mostly just improve your recovery, reduce some inflammation, and improve your training quality. They're not going to turn you into Zac Efron from Baywatch in 2 months. Everyone really wants a secret protocol just because it's easier than executing the basics. But in reality, the fastest and best transformations I've ever coached just come from being consistent, not any needles or powders. All right, so I think that is most of everything I wanted to go over. Let me know if you found this helpful. Even if you're not trying to have the fastest transformation possible, this is the general blueprint of what I give most people and how you should be consistent, how you should stick to things, and how you can actually transform your body instead of being that guy that goes to the gym for 2 years and looks the exact same. Because I don't want that for you, and that is why I make these videos. So if you found this helpful, feel free to let me know, comment, subscribe, let me know of any other videos you want to see. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next video.